woke up this morning and what did I see? These blue skies staring back at me. I'm thinking to myself, it's gonna be a good day. I like the sun when it shines. I like the way that you make me smile. I think I'd like it if you would stick around for a while. I never let these little things bother me. I think that I should just let them slide away, slide away, slide away. Ooh, slide away. Driving down the road, nothing's ever perfect, you see. That's the way life rolls. It's okay with me, so I smile and look around, 'cause I know that it will be okay. There's one thing I'm learning as these years roll by, is to never let the little things make me wanna cry. Remember that you should just let them slide. Yeah. Never let these little things bother me. I think that I should just let them slide away, slide away, slide away. What do you say, Sammy? So someone beeps at you or cuts you in line, just remember this song and you'll do just fine. Remember that you should just let it slide. Yeah, you never let these little things bother me. I think that I should just let them slide away. Yeah, I never let these little things bother me. I think I just let them slide away, slide away, slide away. Ooh, slide away.
Yeah. Woo! All right, what was the name of that song?
Let It Slide.
Very nice. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Nice. I like the. I just like the different variations of like the vocals on that. Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What do you got for number 2?
All right, this is a brand new song I wrote.
New and old, you said, right? You're doing new and old.
That was a pretty old one. This one's pretty new.
Cool.
This one's called the Sing Along Song.
Yay.
So
it's actually called the Sing Along Song?
Sing Along
I like that. Yeah, cool.
Sun shining off the ocean, and it seems like a good day to be alive to me. The rhythm of the waves rolling in, playing songs that never end. And this song plays on, won't you sing along? This melody is my favorite one. And it goes do 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 do. And the sun shines on into the night, and this song plays on. Won't you sing along with me? Won't you sing along with me? And I woke up today with a job to do. There's a little more work than I'm used to. So I grabbed my guitar and I started to play this melody that was in my head. And it sounded like the ocean rolling up on your toes when the day is heading when nobody knows. It goes do 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 do. And the sun shines on into the night, and this song plays on. Won't you sing along with me? Ooh, won't you sing along? Won't you sing along with me?
Haha.
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
Sun shining off the ocean, and it seems like a good day to be alive to me. The rhythm of the waves are rolling in, playing songs that never end. And this song plays on. Won't you sing along? This melody is my favorite one. And it goes do 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 do. And the sun shines on into the night, and the song plays on. Won't you sing along? And the sun shines on into the night, and the song plays on. Won't you sing along with me? Ooh, won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along with me? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along with me? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along? Won't you sing along with me? Yeah, we'll go do 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 do.
All right.
That was fun, man.
Very nice, man. Yes, indeed. Welcome, everybody. Episode number 39 of The Tasty Twist with Sammy B. Once again, I am your host, Sammy Blanchett, producer, host of this show, and local musician here in beautiful Ludlow, Vermont. Once again, we are coming to you from Okemo Valley TV. Thank you to the hardworking staff for providing the platform on what is 39th episode of this podcast already. And you guys just heard from local full-time original Vermont resident Jay Simon. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm real good. It's a beautiful day out. It's really good.
It is before the inch and a half or 2 inches of rain that we're going to be getting, right? That we desperately need. So yeah,
we'll take it.
Yeah. So you have a very long career that started like way back in the day, right? You've been playing for quite a while.
I've definitely been doing it for a little bit now. I'm up there in age a little bit, so but yeah, I got some experience.
Yeah. You run your own business also as well too, correct, right? Like you have your own company. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do a couple different things. One of the primary things I do is sell on eBay. So
nice.
That's been really good. And then I do painting and remodeling as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. And you said you live in East Arlington, Vermont, right?
I live in East Arlington.
Awesome.
I'm right by Old Mill Recording.
Am I familiar with that place? I mean, I know Arlington's, is that near Dorset or no, that's more Wallingford, right?
It's more Manchester.
Manchester. Oh, yeah. So Arlington is like, I think the next town down from Manchester, right?
Yeah, we're right next door, yeah.
There's a fairly new restaurant that's down there that everybody raves about, Bat and Kill. Have you been there?
Oh, it's really good. German food.
Yeah, German food, that's right.
It's pretty cool. It's real different.
Yeah, and have you played music down there yet? I know that they...
I haven't played there. I actually played in Ramunto's over there.
Oh, okay.
A couple times.
Down in Bennington or
in Arlington.
Oh, there's one in Arlington
and
too.
Bennington as well.
I feel like there's a Ramunto's like everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
my
cool.
daughter was working there, so.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So you're very blues, folk, rock, improvisational music. That's your primary background. I was reading up on and everything. And you have a couple of albums and also a lot of like single releases on Bandcamp, correct? That's where folks can find your music online?
That's correct. And when people ask me, like, what do I do for music, I have a trouble kind of pinpointing it. And you, like, really did a good job with
Who would you say are some of your, I mean, general questions I normally ask musicians. Who would you say are, like, some of your biggest influences over the years?
I think I'm really all over the place with, and
It's not a bad problem to have.
No. So, I mean, well, the jam, everybody's, we're all influenced by the Grateful Dead and Fish, and then singer-songwriters like Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews, the classic rock stuff, of course, the Led Zeppelin, and I've had my things with heavy metal and jazz music and Miles Davis and
nice.
And so I definitely been kind of all over the place with my influences in music.
Are you self-taught?
Self-taught primarily, yeah. I mean, I definitely have had some help learning in the beginning.
A couple lessons here and there, yeah.
A couple lessons, and cool. My uncle was a big, part of, when I started playing. Like I was
about to say, you mentioned before we started jamming that there were a couple people in your family. Like there's music that runs in the roots of your family, right?
Music and arts, and my father was an actor and a playwright, and so there was the Playhouse in Massachusetts. That visiting that after the plays, it always became kind of a party scene, and there was always guitars being passed around. And I remember that's really where I had my aha moment of, I want to do that. My uncle was well known in the Berkshires and North Adams area, and he was a big part of like getting me going playing. But I think as far as, me, remembering, I want to do that, it was the Playhouse.
That's
which is a
awesome.
really like special time with arts and theater. And it was cool to be a part of that.
Is it still around today?
No, that's, well,
But this was in the
building
Boston,
is,
This
yeah.
was in the Boston area, right? You were
This is
mentioning, right?
Lunenburg, which
Okay.
is like more western Massachusetts.
Okay.
The building is still there. It's an old church.
Okay.
But my father lived there, and it was a playhouse, and they would do, theater. They would do summer theater, and then so there was, it was a lot of special things that came out of that time period, and it was cool to be a part of that.
Good exposure for you, I'm sure, probably. Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah. So what was the age that you actually started playing guitar or any instrument for that matter?
So I had my first guitar when I was around 12. I played saxophone.
Oh, cool.
For 3, I learned the basic chords on guitar. I played saxophone for 3 years, did chorus. And I think I was around 15 when I was like, you know what? I'm going to play guitar. Like that's going to be my instrument. And that's really when I remember every day starting to play.
Did you have to sight read when you played saxophone or when you started out with guitar?
Yeah.
Did you find it challenging or?
No. Well, I mean, you get used to it, and you learn it. But it wasn't when I went to guitar. It wasn't that wasn't primarily
Wasn't
how
the big
I
emphasis, yeah.
learned music. Or I really leaned more on my ear.
Yeah.
And I think writing was something I really, when I started picking up the guitar, I really got into original music and creating, and I think that's been my focus with what I do. Is I like to, create music.
Yeah, that's good. Tell us a little bit about that. So, in your bio via Facebook and Bandcamp that I was reading up on, a lot of your originals, like most of us, come from own personal experiences in life. And writing your original music gives you a lot of joy to play live in front of people, as it mentioned in the biography. Like you love playing in front of people, but would you say majority of your original music has come from your own personal experiences or what you see through the eyes of others as well?
Yeah, I would say definitely.
Yeah.
Life experience and being able to translate that to music is really cool. It's a good way to, express yourself and get those things out. And, but, I've been around for a few years and I've had some pretty interesting life experiences, and my kids are a big part of my life. My wife is, family. And so to be able to kind of translate all those things, and plus things that happened in the past,
Sure.
to
How many
music.
kids do you have?
I have 5.
5. Nice. Any of them play music yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, my little guys are kind of picking around with it. My daughter loves music.
Oh, nice.
And has kind of done the piano a little bit. So we have.
Have they caught on the dad's influences, like his favorite listening influences?
Yeah. My daughter. It's interesting because they go their own direction.
Yeah.
But I've noticed, like with my daughter on her own accord, I'm like, she's into a lot of getting into the stuff that I was into when I was her age.
Right.
They're like, wow, have you heard this band? Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
I listened to them once or twice. You know what I mean?
It's hard to believe that, you're a little bit older than me, but it's hard to believe we're starting to say, God, Fish and the Chili Peppers and some of these other groups came out 40, 45 years ago. Like already, like we were just saying, like, obviously Beatles 60 years ago, Stones 60 years ago.
Right.
And God, I mean, I mention this all the time on episodes, but the Rolling Stones were just defying all odds with modern medicine and just taking care of yourself and still playing alive.
I hope to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's what we call classic rock or classic, music or classic rock is, it's becoming the Pearl Jam and the Soundgarden and the things that when I was in high school, that's what I went through, that whole scene, and these, they're still relevant and with people's influences in music. So
absolutely.
really cool.
Well, let's throw a couple of firsts out there. So, A being, what was your first live show that you saw as a spectator? And then what was your first actual live volunteer or paid performance on your end?
Oh, wow. Okay.
2-part question.
So I remember going to concerts when I was younger with my father, which I couldn't tell you who they were, but I remember a bluesgrass concert, and I remember some bigger ones. And those were when I was really young. The first, like, we're going to see a concert, I think, was Metallica.
Nice. Is their 40th anniversary this year, I think, or 35th?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. I've been hearing all the radio
I
advertisements.
don't follow them too much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's their, yeah, so.
Yeah.
And I think the first real gig that we did, it was in Boston, the Middle East, which is probably still there, right?
Yeah.
Middle East was like a big over in, I think, Cambridge.
Okay.
You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. That's
Middle
right.
East had 3 stages. They had the big stage, which was for bigger bands.
Right.
They had the smaller room, which was still a 400-person room. And then they had the corner for like solo artists or whatever. And when we played there, it was like a Monday night or whatever. You know, you're selling tickets for $1 a piece, and that's how you got. That's what
you're
got paid.
working for the door, right? Basically, like you're trying to get.
We were stoked to do it. You know.
Yeah.
And when we went to play that show, the upper room that we were scheduled to play in was being worked on or whatever. So like, oh, you guys are going to play in the main room. We're like, yes, like,
yes.
we made it. Like we made the.
In your eyes, you made it. Yeah. Yes, that was it.
And we brought in a lot of people, and it felt like we were doing this.
What was that? What was the name of the group that you were in?
That was Revelation.
Revelation. Okay. What kind of music did you guys do?
So that was a 5-piece, kind of a hard rock thing. I was more rhythm guitar, vocals, but there was a lead singer, a lead guitar player. You know, we had the quintessential lead singer who was nuts and like a real artist. And like I look back and I'm like, wow, he was really, you know, he was a talented guy, and his writing was impressive, and it was a fun band to be a part of, and it really helped with my development as far as a musician, just to be in that band.
Did you sing in the group also as well too, or is that primarily him?
I sang as well.
Yeah. Was it kind of one of those, whoever wrote the song sang the song?
Yeah, I guess that was kind of how, you know, we did some
It's
of
cool
that.
how bands operate that way, because I worked in a band like that in Connecticut one time when I was playing bass. If you wrote the song, you sang it.
I think that is kind of how we did it, and I would still sing backups on his, and he would sing, you know.
Sure.
But,
got to have those vocal harmonies, man, you know?
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you ever see a show or perform at, what's the big club also down in Boston area, the Paradise?
Yeah, I've definitely seen bands there.
Yeah, it's a big spot, man.
Yeah, that's a big venue. I would prefer to go to a club show.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of those cool clubs, the Avalon or whatever, in Boston, then go to see a big arena show, personally.
How long did you live in the Boston area, and how long did you play music in the Boston area?
I was there for 9 or 10 years, right around there, and I played music the whole time.
Gotcha.
I mean, when I moved from Vermont when I was 19, and that was one of the reasons why I moved. I wanted to be part of that scene.
Yep.
And I kind of got right into it, and I played music the whole time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Did you have a day job in addition to playing music the whole time down that way? Or
I played original music. We didn't make any money.
Yeah.
But I worked in construction around that time.
Yeah, gotcha. Lifestyle obviously is much different in cities like Boston versus Vermont, I would imagine in your eyes.
Yeah.
Not just the quantity of people, but also like the hustle and bustle. You know?
There was the traffic and... You know.
Is there a specific type of genre that folks in and around the Boston area crave, whether it's original music or covers? Like, is there any one specific genre that...
I think they're all over the place, too.
Yeah,
really, you know, I think the covers, there's, you know, if you go into certain places, you're going to hear cover bands, you're going to hear cover musicians. I think in a lot of the clubs, they're definitely going to want the original music.
Sure.
And there's just a lot of everything there. There's
They have like solid blues venues, like a BB King, like Bluesville or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I know we used to go to see jazz shows.
Yeah.
And we'd like the real, like, you walk through a bar and there's the door in the back of the bar where you walk down the stairs and it's dark, and like it was smoky back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the girl walk around selling cigarettes and like...
Of course, yeah.
and so we see some really cool jazz shows there.
Reminds me of this one place in New Haven, Connecticut, not that far from where I used to live. It was called, I think it's still there. It's called the Owl Shop, and it's just a whiskey drinking, cigar smoking jazz club where they have like open mics on Wednesday nights, and you're just in there. And I don't know if it's still. I would imagine it's still legal in there as a cigar shop to do. I know in regular bars and restaurants, obviously smoking is illegal now, but I think in that specific one is a different scene. But you just go in there, you got a couple of drinks in you, and you just come out. You're reeking like cigar smoke, but you had a great time. You're listening to jazz music and everything.
The real jazz,
the real jazz, And that's obviously. I went to school for jazz, and that is.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah, I went to WestCon. I went 2007 to 11. I graduated in 4 years with a bachelor's in jazz performance. Wasn't feeling, and I wasn't feeling teaching at an administration level, so I didn't pursue a master's. I got a second bachelor's in business management, so kind of sort of putting 2 and 2 together. But jazz is hard, man. I come as a blues rock trained by ear listening guy, even when I was taking lessons when I was like 13 years old. And so sight reading always came very hard for me, and just changing keys all the time, like comping and soloing. It's still a challenge after all these years, man.
But it's a great tool for your playing, even if you're not a jazz player. That comping and the soloing and improvisation is a cool thing to add to an element to add to your music.
Isn't it unique how all the genres mix together though, or they take influences from each other? Like they all kind of blend in.
And I love doing that. And that's again, like that's why they're like, well, what kind of music do you play? And I'm like, that's a good question, but you kind of pinned it down, man. I got to tell you, I always have a problem answering that question.
Well, the first song that you played, the sliding song, with that introduction, had very similar, like John Lee Hooker type, like an intro, like with the lines and everything. Because a lot of those old blues guys, Robert Johnson, T-Bone Walker, John Lee Hooker, as I mentioned, and all the Kings. Sometimes those introductions on the songs, they play chords and then they just do like a little quick pentatonic noodling on the guitar. And that's what I like kind of caught right there. I'm like, oh, okay, he probably listens to a lot of those guys.
So I like simplicity too, though, with a lot of things with the music. I don't like to overdo. I think.
Here's an interesting question for you. So with technology changing so rapidly in the last 30 to 40 years, primarily with phones and laptops and everything, do you think music has gotten more complicated, or do you think it's gotten simpler with the changes of the sounds in the technology that we have at our hands?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's, there's more tools that we're able to use, and I think it's like, what do you want to do as an artist? I think it's a good thing to have these tools available.
Depends on the individual's mindset and their perspective too, and their skill set, like what they can do.
I think recently I want to get back into doing recording, and so you have all these tools, and I think about drum tracks or whatever as a solo artist, and you think about MIDI, and like I've been contemplating and trying out these different things, and like reaching out for help with people like John Pennington and then
I had him on an episode a couple months ago, right? John and Joel were great. Those guys
are awesome, man.
Yeah. And they're doing a great thing down in Londonderry next to the New American Grill too, with all their businesses. So.
Which is just an amazing scene. Oh yeah. Right there.
Yeah. Now you've played a segue. We'll get back to what you're talking about with John, but you have played some shows at the New American Grill, correct?
I played there definitely on a regular basis.
Yeah, I love those guys. Those guys.
I think the New American Grill is my favorite venue. I love what Max has done as far as like providing that space for and allowing like new up and coming artists, but having like established artists there as well. Yeah. And just having the record shop next door with the recording studio there.
Yep.
And I mean,
you've got the hardware store and the market next door also too. Obviously you can get everything done in one shop there.
And I mean, Taylor Farm has been a big part of that whole scene up there in the past.
Yeah.
And a lot of those relationships, a lot of those like started at Taylor Farm or whatever with John and Joel. Yeah. And like it's that whole scene is like kind of moved over there, and like it's just a really cool scene to be a part of and to see.
It's a great representation of what Vermont community is all about, in my opinion. You know, to see all the businesses and all the artists come together. Yeah, no, we love our friends at the New American Grill and John and Joel. It's a great scene down there. But anyways, getting back to John, what you were mentioning, you were something about with going into the studio. That's right, recording.
Right. So I've been, in the past, I've done a lot of the more recent recordings have been like home recordings, which home recordings, it's great to have that tool, and but also kind of reaching out for help, going, all right, what should I do? And I'm really trying to develop a good, simple method to recording that I can do at home that's going to be organic though and simple and whatever, you know. So recently, like, I sent John a track and I was like, I think I want to just go MIDI, like a nice clean drum track. And then I'm like, I don't know, I think organic. And he was like, I hear acoustic drums on it. And so I'm kind of, you know, trying to develop and streamline
Have you ever recorded with a drum click by chance, like a metronome?
That's what I typically I use Reaper.
Yeah.
And I try to use the click.
I gotcha. Yeah.
On Reaper.
I only ask because when my experience with like recording in a studio before, I've had some guys that say, all right, so you guys want to do this in one take, but do you want the drum click? And I am hesitant on that. I'm like, no, I just want to go by the feel. Like, and that's just that.
You probably have really good timing, though.
Well, I mean, the guys I've worked with and myself, yes, we're all fortunate the timing and everything. I think in some regards the drum click definitely does help, but from my take, the guys I've worked with were like, no, let's just keep it raw. Like, let's just like,
And it's an interesting, like, you had that conversation with John and Joel about the click. So the click track is very much like preference, but the benefits too, I would say with the click is like nobody has perfect timing.
Right. No.
So if you're going to record, your timing is going to waver. If you record to a click, after the fact, it gives you more options as far as like laying a MIDI drum track or cutting and pasting and all these different things.
That's right. Yeah,
and it is just clean. And my timing is just not good enough to not use a click track.
I always forget that the guys that work in the studio that are editing the songs at the end, they can do a lot of that cut and pasting with with whether it's GarageBand or Pro Tools, like any of those.
I use Reaper.
I'm not up to snuff on the programming, unfortunately, with that stuff, but that's cool. How many times have you recorded in the studio in general?
So I did with the band Revelation. We went into a studio. We did a 5-song that was a really nice, clean representation of what we were doing at that time. I went into a studio around in the Boston area when I was moving more into being a solo artist. And it was more, I played with a studio drummer and bass player, and it was kind of like, here's my demo. Okay. And we got together, ran through the songs, like, all right. And they showed up and played the songs like they knew them in their sleep.
Everyone did their homework.
They were like, you know, better than me at the song. So that was a good experience. And then I did kind of a recording in a studio that was kind of at the percussionist house, and it was definitely a full studio.
Right.
So that was a cool demo. And then since I've been back in Vermont, I've been trying to do more home recordings, which have been fun, and that's more like what's on Bandcamp now. I think, honestly, like, if I'm going to like critique my own music, I think the quality is not there to where what I'm looking to achieve. So I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm looking to do not a volume of recordings, but really good quality representation of what I do.
Yeah. Do you find that there are some songs that you've recorded, whether in-house or at someone's studio, that the day of that you're recording it, that, hey, that's the version that I want, that's perfect exactly the way? Or sometimes does it take weeks, months, maybe even years before it's like fully mastered in your eyes?
Yeah, you're saying mastered after the fact?
I'm talking about like the finished product. Like, does it happen like for you? It's like, hey, I want to release that now out to the world.
Oh,
is it? You know right away when you're in the studio, like, yeah, that's the one, and I trust that they're going to do a great job just fully mastering it afterwards? Or is it, well, let's have them work on it. I don't know if I want to do it again. Let's hear what we got. And then no, it's because sometimes, and I think I'm complicating the question, but sometimes
I understand where you're going
when you're mastering your own work, you may go back in and want to do it again because you have another verse of lyrics that you didn't have at the time that you now all of a sudden mentally think that will fit. Or is it just like lightning in a bottle? No, that's good. I like it, you know?
So I think it's both. And I think it's very much like songwriting, where like a lot of the best songs that are written are like, you have this idea, you sit down, and sometimes they flow right out. Sometimes you can really just write out a song. Typically doesn't happen that way. And then sometimes you have these songs where like you write it and you edit it and you change it and you add to it and whatever. And so that's great. Both are great. But sometimes you can get, so recording's the same way. Like a lot of times you sit down, you get 1 take, 2 takes, and you're like, and it's not a lot of overdubbing. It's very organic, and that's just really works. And sometimes songs take a lot of editing, and so I think both work, and it's different for different songs and different artists. You know?
I think it also depends on when the finished product is out there, whether it's a single, an EP, or an album. I think it all depends on each artist's perspective on what am I hoping to get out of this? Like what do I ultimately want to achieve? Like, you know, you have a day job, you do a lot of other different like handyman stuff. It's like, hey, I just want to get, maybe your mindset is, hey, I just want to get my art out there to show people that this is what I, feel, what I experience. If it becomes a one-hit wonder, great, whatever. But there's some artists that literally have the mentality, which might be for better or for worse, might be, God, I hope this album's a number one, so that way I can like financially like set myself on the door. I think at the end of the day, every artist just still is happy to be able to express themselves live and also in a studio. Would you say? Like,
yeah, definitely. I think there's different reasons, like you're saying.
Tiers,
there's like, I want to do a couple songs to be able to get gigs, or I have this, these songs that I'm looking to establish a band. And like, here's the songs.
That's a good point. I forgot to mention that
or
too,
you're releasing your music and you're not looking to be on the radio or whatever, but it's like, here's what I do. Yeah. I think part of the last batch of like stuff that I did at home was to get the songs laid down. So like I said, I'm not super happy with the quality, but it's like, I write out the lyrics and you write the chords down, but I think it's just to have that song, because I'm now listening back to songs and I'm going, oh, I forgot I had that song. Or I really will do that. And so it's cool to have that to reference right now, so.
In addition to that, do you also, before writer's block possibly happens, do you write it on pen and paper? Or do you record something on your camera roll on your phone so that way you remember to get back to it so you don't forget?
That is a really good little tip for people. Like when you're inspired and you have that chord progression or you have that lyric idea, lay it down.
You don't want to forget it. You always hold on to it.
I do that, and I also have these times where I'm like, no, I'll remember this.
I'll get back to that another day. Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, so,
and then you sleep on it. You're like, oh, I forgot to write that down. Darn it.
So that's actually a really good tip for people, is to like, if you're inspired or whatever, get a clip of it.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, coming from experience of forgetting to do that. By the way, I've done that many a times. I'll get around to it. Yeah. It's a funner-ish or more fun English is
funner-ish.
Funner-ish.
I like that.
It's a funner. It's a more funner-ish version of procrastinating. One question I wanted to ask. So you've had again, obviously, an extensive career of band and solo shows, but do you also spend time at open mics periodically?
I don't anymore, and I definitely, so after Boston, I was in Florida. And then came back to Vermont. That's when I really got back into playing. Yeah. And so
did you play down in Florida at all, or
didn't as much as I did in Boston.
What part of Florida were you down in?
Yeah, southwestern Florida.
Okay.
Northport. Yeah.
So not that far from Tampa or the Keys or St. Pete?
A couple hours south of Tampa on the Gulf Coast. So yeah. Gotcha. But I didn't play out like I played. I didn't play out much at all. And so getting back to Vermont was definitely open mics. and it was the Taylor Farm open mic, and it was these other Donovan's in Bennington was a cool one back in the day.
Irish Bar?
Yeah,
right. Do they have a couple different locations? I think they have one in Bellows Falls. Yeah,
right?
Bellows Falls. Yeah.
And so now, like, I think, like, and I just think it doesn't. The open mics are great. The New American Grill open mic has been amazing.
Thursday nights, go check it out. New American Grill open mic. Yeah.
And it's been a cool place for. You see these bands coming out of these open mics. You know what I mean? What's the new Dead Guy Fashion?
Dead
Guy Fashion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So. There's another good one here in our local town in Ludlow, the Killarney, the Irish Bar.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
they have
a cool
open mic every Monday night. Yeah.
So do you host at all?
I used to. So do you know my friend King Arthur Jr.? So you've probably heard the name. Yeah. He's a little bit older than me. He's based out of Rutland. He's a talented bass player, talented guitar player. Plays Albert King style, just with his thumb, or Wes Montgomery style, just only with his thumb, no pick. It's really awesome. He
almost
gets
a slappy kind of
thing,
right?
We hosted 2 open mics / open jams. Right around the time a year before COVID hit. It was 2019. There's a place in Ludlow now called Little Mexico that used to be called Du Jour VT, run by our really good friend Desiree, who now bartends at Off the Rails. And we did Taco Tuesday open mic night every Tuesday there. And yeah, it's just 3 hours. Like him and I would play like a half hour just to start the show off.
Yep.
And then it was just pen and paper. People write their names down. And then we just play the roles of sound guys for like the rest of the night. You're out mingling with the people. You're eating, you're drinking, having a good time.
And you guys close out.
And I tell you, and again, it's... for those out there that listen to this podcast that are trying to dig back into their memory of what life was like before COVID-19, which now seems like a long time ago, but it was still like very fresh in our mind. The place was packed all the time, and places were constantly packed, like all these places. I mean, we're kind of getting back to that now, obviously, in the last year plus, I would say. But then there was another place, it's vacant now down on 103 near Grafton Village Cheese. It used to be called Neil's Restaurant and Bar. My good buddy, Neil Barron, thank you for paving the way, one of the main catalysts for paving the way for me up here in Vermont when I moved up here in 2018, giving me chance after chance, gig after gig, just getting my foot in the door in all the places up here. Also, Max and Jack at New American Grill and Mark at the Killarneys, all these places. I have such special places in my heart. Artie and I, we hosted Thursday night open jam nights down over there at Neil's. So the point of the story is definitely had some cool experience with being a host for a year and a half.
That's awesome.
I would say from a full-time musician role, I think being an open mic host is not for me full-time. But I definitely loved the experience, and I love more than anything with being at an open mic, I absolutely love the community engagement that it brings, and all the cats that come in just expressing themselves.
It's great for up and coming artists. It's a great place to network and meet other musicians if you're looking to do that. It's a lot of the good open mics are good for our scene.
I love just going to an open mic, and I want to sort of pretend to just be someone out in the audience. Like it's a night off for me. Like if I'm just going to visit an open mic, I'm just hanging out. But then sure enough, 20 minutes in, someone's like, Sammy, you got a guitar in the car? Come on, man. Bring it on. So you can't fully escape, but it's fun.
And then there's these open mics, and then there's like Donovan's was always like an open jam. Open mic, but it always turned into like, there's going to be a band formed here somehow with this person and that person.
Absolutely,
That was cool.
You mentioned in the pregame you wanted to. I'm talking like a sports analyst. I'm sorry. Right before I love sports talk radio, by the way. But you mentioned you wanted to chat a little bit about sound and like pedals and equipment. So give a little just bit of a rundown on what you do as far as like with your sounds.
I think the reason why that was kind of on my head is because recently I've been going through like some changes with my gear or whatever. I'm definitely not a gearhead where but I want what works and what's simple.
You have a particular guitar that you love, besides this one? You have a particular guitar brand model that you like playing the most?
I mean, I like the Breedlove. I've had Takamine in the past. Electric guitars, like the Gibson, the Les Paul style kind of guitars, I guess. But I've also had Strats.
You prefer playing electric guitar or acoustic guitar? Do you have a?
I prefer, for what I do, as far as, you know, my music and art or whatever at this point, is the acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar, yeah.
I found, obviously, with the band setting, it's just so much easier to get a clean sound at a higher volume with electric guitar.
Sure, yeah.
And, you know, with the band, when there's drums and bass and the soloing, and it's easier to have the electric. But as far as writing and where I'm kind of the direction I'm heading in, the acoustic guitar works.
Yeah. As far as your overall sound with the guitar, like the Breedlove, for example, would you say you lean more towards the low end, the highs, and the mids kind of being like dead center? Do you kind of adjust each one accordingly? Does it depend on the room or the PA board that you have? Do you like a fatter, like beefier low end sound, or do you like a little bit like higher, tinnier, like high end sort of sounds?
I don't like the higher end stuff.
I don't either.
So,
yeah.
And it really depends on the room. And I think recently one of the big changes I made is I went to the LR Bags pickup, which uses a real mic and a piezo, which is like your standard bridge pickup.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And you're able to blend them.
Yeah.
So again, you able to make that adjustment based on the room you're in. And so I put that in, and then you go to plug into your same setup, and you're like, well, this changed. You know, so I went through, like, should I go back to using an amp? And that's a question I have for you, is like the amp thing. So I try that, not love it, and whatever. End up simplifying the setup, and basically I'm going from the guitar into an EQ pedal, and then I have a couple different pedals. A looper, I loop. You know,
what kind of looper do you use?
The Boss. It's a pretty basic.
Is it the RC1, 2, or 3, or
it's the one? I think it's the one, and it's just a basic looper. But I do have the other add-on, which is great for a one-hit stop.
Sure, yeah. I have the next model up from the 1, which is the 2, which has. I'm trying to remember what the difference is between the 1 and the 2, because I've used both. The 2 is the one that I've always had, but I think the 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. Both give you the option of, if you record just one track and one track only, you can delete out of that easily when you step back on the pedal.
I can do that. Hold the pedal.
Yeah, but you can also dub and overlay. You can do other tracks like on top.
Oh yeah,
of that, right?
6 or 10 or whatever. Yeah, crazy.
yeah. But I always remember with the RC2. That's my go-to one, is that as soon as you get a second track above the first one, you have to then finish the song, and then dead silence, go down and retweak the knobs to eliminate the track, because otherwise it's not going to eliminate
it. Stores it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It stores it, yeah. But if it's just one, then you just step back on the pedal when you're done with that loop, wait 3 seconds, hold it, and then it deletes it on the fly.
Okay. Mine, with the add-on pedal, once you hit that, you're deleted all the tracks that you put into it, but it does the same like you're saying, like you hold it, because you lay down a bass track and you're like, I missed that, so you're going to redo that.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking, like, until I learned that you can delete the one track on the RC2, I actually, my brief experience with the 1, I actually kind of liked it a little bit more than the 2, I think, because of the simplicity. But obviously,
I like simple.
Yeah. Do you use reverb or like a delay pedal?
So I use it's a delay that I'll use primarily when I solo.
Yeah.
And then I use a reverb. So the other big change that I made is I was doing the full PA, because I had the band and doing solo shows. Doing primarily solo stuff now, so I went to a column PA, and so that's been simple. And I really hoped, like, with the changes I made, that I would not have to do an amp. Just one of the things is, like, simplicity is like lugging your stuff.
Of course. Oh yeah.
And, so I'm interested to hear what your setup is, because I've heard you at Blackline, which is a bigger room.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get at a higher volume and get your sound just right. You sounded really good.
Well, thank you.
And I liked the volume because it wasn't like you were trying to, because it gets loud in there, and you weren't trying to overpower that.
Yeah.
You were at like a really nice volume where you could hear it, and it just caught through though. And
I appreciate that. Well, not only just with that room in particular, the Black Lion Tavern at Magic, shout out to Josh, Carey, and everybody, and Jeff over there. Just based on experience of like how high the ceiling really is in like certain parts of the building. So Josh has always had a sound PA system there, and it's usually they're either 10-inch or 12-inch QSC powered speakers that have like their own built-in EQ, and they've got different channels that you can use for guitar input, mic input. What I've actually found to be simpler and a little bit easier for me is, and I forget who taught me this. It might be my good buddy up in Rutland, Chris Paluto, or my buddy that I have on tomorrow actually for recording, Ty McCarthy. Is you can either plug directly into the speakers from your pedal board or your microphone.
Okay.
And then you just adjust the volume on the channels from there. What I have found to be an easier solution, and I know it's kind of like another like EQ built into this, is I have a small Yamaha 2-channel mixer, like a passive mixer that goes into the active powered speakers. So I plug the guitar and the vocal mic into the little mixer, adjust the reverb, the EQs on each channels, and then I daisy chain the board into just one output on the powered speakers. And then depending on how many speakers I'm using, you just keep like daisy chaining like all around like a maze.
Okay.
The beauty about the powered speakers is that they have their own volume on those channels in addition to what you're already using on your power on your board.
That's the setup I was doing.
Right. So my take that what I've found, especially for a room like that, is have your mixer go into a powered speaker. Have your overall volumes figured out on your board, and then tweak the speaker, the output like volume here and there, like adjust it from there. The reason I bring that up is because with having the mixer go into the speaker, you've got more power than originally like asked for, like more volume power and more beef with like the speaker being in there.
Don't try to force that signal into the.
You already want my goal that I found, because in case you really need to max out the volume in that room, which you don't, but if you really want to max it out, if you got a massive crowd that can't hear you unless you really crank it, if you already have power and boost coming from there, my point is, if you just plug directly into the speaker without the mixer, you don't have as much gain and much volume control if you need to like max things out. But if you've got a passive speaker that has its own volume and gain on that, now you're adding more juice to the speaker, but you can lower the overall volume on the speaker for just in case. And then if you need to crank it, does that make sense? Like you're adding more power by doing a mixer. And
so you don't use an amp, huh?
For electric shows, I do. Yes, for electric shows, which is a different animal. Yeah,
You mean electric guitar?
Electric guitar, yeah.
Okay.
So for the acoustic, I have my Alvarez right here.
Yeah.
Which goes into a pedal board.
Yeah.
Then that goes into the mixer or a speaker, depending on the setup. And then I've got an SM58. This is different than a mic like this. Goes into the mixer as well. Then you daisy chain the mixer into, I have an 8-inch QSC speaker or a 12-inch QSC speaker. It depends on the room. And then that's my setup right there. On an electric show,
simple.
And if I play electric with the Whatnots or Sammy B and friends, whatever group that I'm in, or I sit in with a band, also dependent on the room and depending on if there's a house PA system or not, most of the time it's an electric guitar. In this case, I have a Les Paul, a Strat, a Telecaster, a PRS. I've got a bunch of different models that I've used. I use the exact same pedal board that I would use for this.
Okay.
I'm partially lazy. I'm throwing that out there. I am partially lazy.
Whatever works.
Yeah, and I've got an octave, mostly Bosses, but I've got the TS9 Ibanez Tube Screamers that Trey Anastasio has made famous and Stevie Ray Vaughan has made famous.
I love that tone, man.
Yeah, dude, it's a killer tone.
Yeah.
And what I find that it works best with those distortion pedals is some sort of tubed amplifiers. Now I've used Fender Deluxe amplifiers.
Yeah.
Right now I've currently got a Fender Champ tubed amp that's is actually Neil Barron's actually, but I also have a solid state amp also as well too without the tubes called the Fender Blues Cube. I like the Fender amps. The Fender amps are really, really good.
A lot of the solid states have come a long way.
They've come a long way. Yep. Vox makes a really good hybrid. It has like preamp tubes and then like just an overall solid state. I've used that. The Mesa Boogie amps are also really good as far as tubes and everything. It's been years since I've done amp research, I got to admit, because most of my career now is solo acoustic.
Right. Same.
But that's at least what I've gained in my experience, like 10, 15 plus years playing electric shows. Yeah. So sometimes when you're in a room like the Black Line Tavern, we just use that as a primary example. If you're on the main stage, or another example, Off the Rails in Ludlow, which is a big nightclub, hosts a lot of bands, is after the electric guitar has been gone from the pedal to the Fender Champ amplifier, let's just say, sometimes the amp I'll then daisy chain into the big PA board, so that way you can hear the amp like through like in the board and everything. If it's a small room though, and you're tight for space with a band, and you don't have a house PA system, then most of the time, like the amp, you just crank it and it's loud enough just on its own.
A lot of times,
Or sometimes you take a little mini mic and you put it right in front of the speaker.
Well, that's a whole...
It all depends on the room.
That's a whole thing too. I mean, when we played Gas Money Machine at Blackline, the sound guys, that's the real standard thing that they're used to back in the, it was mic and I said, hey, the output on this thing is really cool. And he was like, all right, I'll grab that too and see what. So he was an awesome that sound guy up there. You know?
What is your preference on an electric guitar and like amp? Like, what do you use as far as the setup?
So now I'm using. I have a little Boss amp. And it's really cool. It does a lot, and it has preset channels, so you can you set up oh, this is my clean, and I really like this tone, and okay, so you save that, and then you can go, I like this for my dirty, and you can, so you don't have to remember all those settings, and there's actually a real acoustic preamp in it, so I can use it for my acoustic, but. Simplicity, and I wasn't loving the acoustic channel through it. In the past, back in the day, I was a tube amp guy.
Yeah.
And I was looking for an amp, a newer amp. I was using a custom that was doing the job, and I'm looking at tube amps or whatever, and then, cost and the weight and... the solid.
How many times am I going to use it?
The solid state amps have really come a long way, and the big thing for me is dude, you can get a good overdriven channel with different pedals. You mentioned a really good one, but you clean for an amp for the electric guitar to get that really nice clean sound is important, and that little Boss 12-inch, and it's a powerhouse for a little amp, and it's super light, so that seems to work. And then like you're saying, you can always go out of that into the board, you can mic that. Or
I have to ask, and I love the much like the episode with Zach that I did back in July. I love the nerdy equipment talk that we're talking about. It's like the same when I'm explaining to people about modes and scales and stuff. It's okay to occasionally geek out. It's pretty fun. Are you a fan of amp provided distortion foot switches, or do you prefer the pedals from other brands?
Recently with that amp, specifically the Boss, I wasn't crazy about I tried it a few times, and I wasn't crazy about the overdriven channel. I was able to get a really nice clean sound through it, and so then I would, and like you were saying, I was pretty much using the same pedal board as I would use with that, which you wouldn't think would really work, but it did, and I would throw a wah pedal on the end and be. I'm simple, a good overdriven channel, a delay, with the electric guitar, I like the wah.
Yep.
Cool.
And then the loop.
And then the loop, with the electric guitar, you're doing less of that with the band setup. But
it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. I mean, there are, and again, there's a lot of variables, and there's a lot of different incredible, let's just stick on a guitar. Just a lot of incredible guitar players out there that, depending on what they're going for, some may want to use all the pedals in the world, or some just simply want to just keep it completely clean and just add a little delay on the mixer, and they don't need any pedals. But
so I'll just say just one more thing.
We'll
stop talking about gear.
No, absolutely, go for it.
A big thing with the acoustic guitar, like I'll tell you, if you're trying to get your tone right, is an EQ pedal. And getting those dialed in, but you're drawing out a lot. You're taking down on the highs and the mids or whatever. Yeah. So you have to kind of boost yourself. And I was going DI into the EQ and in this recent change of this, I end up completely doing away with the DI preamp. This has its own built-in preamp. So for me, the more I can simplify, and I like the tone because it's more of a natural acoustic tone that I'm able to achieve, and I like that. So. And
unless anything has changed in modern history, I have so many favorite guitar players, but one's passed away now, and the other one is still currently alive. But the late great Jeff Beck and Derek Trucks.
Derek Trucks.
Dude, so they're
struck a nerve.
I know, dude. I've met him. He's a really cool dude.
Really, that's amazing.
Really cool,
he seems
dude.
really cool. Yeah.
He signed my white pickup guard on my Mexican Fender Stratocaster 20 years ago.
So when I first started listening to Derek was when he played with the Allman Brothers.
Yeah,
we used to go.
You ever see him live?
We used to go see the Allman Brothers all the time.
Yeah, where?
And it was in Foxborough.
Okay.
Yeah, the stadium outside of Boston in Foxborough, and I think it. Anyway, so
I used to see him at the Beacon Theater in Manhattan on Broadway all the time. Their March shows, the Beacon at the Beacon. Oh my God, yeah.
But yeah, this is we're like, wow, Butch Trucks' son is playing guitar for them.
Yeah,
and then we're like, whoa, dude, he can play guitar.
I think he's 45 now. He's been around for a while, but I think he first started sitting in with the Allmans when he was 9.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I mean, when we started seeing him, he was a teenager. He was like 19 or something like that, and just blowing you away.
Yeah, I think him and Susan in their property down in I think they live in the Jacksonville, Florida area, or somewhere down in Georgia.
Yeah.
They're Southern guys, because Derek's always wearing the Atlanta Braves hat, the Jacksonville Jaguars attire. They're big sports fans, but they have, obviously, I mean, they're able to do this, but I think it's just out of personal preference. They have a massive built-in at-home studio in kind of like a man cave shed that they built years ago on their Swamp Ranch property. But anyways, I bring up Jeff Beck and Derek Trucks to just get back to the simplicity sometimes of sound. Derek Trucks is just straight out of a twin reverb Fender amplifier with his SG guitar, and he just cranks the volume on the amp, and then he just adjusts the volume on his guitar.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And
that's it.
John Pennington.
What you get is what you get out of your amplifier, and that's great.
You can have John Pennington will sit in with you with no pedals or anything, plugged into an 8-inch amp or something like that. And you're like, how did you... What are you doing? But he'll do so much with the volume and the different pickups and so. But Susan Tedeschi, the first time we saw Susan was in Boston, and she was opening up for B.B. King, and it was just like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
And it was cool I think they're both cool people, which makes sense for them.
And she's a great guitar player for what she does also too, man.
She's phenomenal.
She's really good.
I mean, you're playing with Derek Trucks, so there's got to be that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, but it's we always have these apples and oranges comparisons with people and stuff. But it's okay, she's married to Derek Trucks, one of the most monstrous guitar players. But then you hear her rip on a guitar solo. It's she's no joke. Freaking good too.
Yeah, if she was playing without Derek, she would seem a lot better. But her vocal, that raspy bluesy.
Oh, it's the best.
I mean, you can't. No. It's just you can't duplicate that.
No. Her and Bonnie Raitt, man, just got sounds of angels, man.
And so they have a band, full band. Susan's got a full band. Yep. Derek's got a full band.
Yeah.
Then they meet, fall in love, and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not well, we got to fire a drummer. They're just cool people. They're well, we'll just and could you imagine paying?
They consolidated the band.
That's got to be a big payroll, dude. But they make it work.
It seems like every couple of years they're adding another person. I think they're up to 13 members now. But it's interesting you bring that up because I was also a big fan of the Derek Trucks band, the band before Tedeschi Trucks band. So Derek had the Allman Brothers, then he had his own band, the Derek Trucks band. Yep. basically when Tedeschi Trucks Band formed in 09 or 2010, they just brought most of the members from the Derek Trucks Band into the Tedeschi Trucks Band, which was cool.
Yeah.
My father and I always, when we saw the Allman Brothers at the Beacon Theater in Manhattan many a times, we always did okay, who's going to take the better guitar solo on this version of this song, Warren Haynes or Derek Trucks?
Right.
And talk about completely different sounds between Derek's Fender Twin Reverb, and then Warren's got the Les Paul with almost like no reverb on his like guitar soloing, but different styles. And Warren's also a phenomenal guitar player. He's a phenomenal slide guitar player too.
Yeah, great artist in general, singer.
Yeah. I don't know how much he does this anymore in his I think he's like 64 or 65 now, but there was a time 20 something years ago when Warren was with Government Mule, the Allman Brothers Band, the Dead, and Phil Lesh and Friends.
Yeah, dude, he played with the Dead,
and he did like so many like solo acoustic tours shows. I believe he did maybe 320 shows a year, if not more.
Guys. Yeah. Well, dude, look at your schedule for till March. I looked at that and I'm like, whoa, I'm too old for that.
Here's a celebrity.
I have too many kids to be doing that.
hey, you got to get them on the road and be the roadie,
there
right?
You go. I'm leaning on that a little bit.
Yeah. But here's something also to consider about musicians, celebrities, athletes in general. In the age of these things now, technology and social media, not only are they, let's say athletes, for example, they're in the gym 7 days a week. They're watching tape 7 days a week. They're performing live.
Right.
They're sports 7 days a week.
I know where you're going.
Think of all the other, the interviews, the phone calls, the keeping up with stuff. Social media adds another job business element to what they have to do on a day in, day out basis.
For you as an artist as well.
Well, for us as artists, and in my case, maybe like being more full-time.
Yeah.
But just superstar athletes and celebrities in general.
Right. You're content creators as well.
Yeah, you're content creators. And so is there ever like a moment where any of these guys are actually mentally off the clock?
Right.
You're always on in some capacity.
To be at that level, you know what I mean? You have to. And I mean, that's I get to like my wife, which she's super supportive. My wife is awesome. As my kids are super supportive of what I do. But there's the like, didn't you just play guitar? Like, what are you doing?
Going out
like,
again? What are you doing?
You know, I mean, you're dedicated to your art and to play at that level and like whatever, man, you got to play every day, you know? And,
absolutely.
And you want to.
Of course, absolutely.
We don't do what we do because we're being forced into it.
No, you do it for the love, really.
We love what we do.
Yeah. Speaking of love, do either of you like to cook?
I love to cook.
Yeah, you're the cook of the house. What's your favorite food?
Well, I shouldn't say that. My wife's a better cook than me, but I do love to cook.
But you love to cook, yeah.
Favorite food? Gosh, I would say Mexicans up there.
Can't go wrong with that.
Everything everything Mexican I like.
Yeah,
you know?
Hey, is it the further southwest you go in the country, the better the food is? You would say, or
it's I don't know, man. I like the southern food. I like when we head to Florida, we'll drive through the night.
Yep.
And you're coming into like the Carolinas like in the morning, and we'll hit Bojangles, which is like a fast food, but it's good fast food.
Is it like Waffle House or no? I've heard of the name.
It's a little different. It's fast food joint, you know.
Yeah.
But they have the best like greasy biscuits there.
Puts Boston Market to shame. Like those biscuits that they put in the plate. Yeah. Do you guys travel a lot? Your family, like vacations and stuff?
We do. We love Florida.
Yeah.
You know,
golfer?
I lived down. No, I'm not a golfer. I'm not old enough for that
surfer?
yet. I want to get into surfing. I snowboards, and I bet I more recently, probably a year ago, started skating again, and I've done that since my kids are
in a fitness facility or like outside on a pond.
We go like skateboarding.
Oh, skateboarding. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was thinking ice skating. I'm sorry, you mentioned So
we go to the skate park, and I'm taking him there, and I'm like, wow, that looks like fun. I wish I was younger. And I'm talking to some of these older guys, and I'm like, dude, just be careful and whatever. And I'm like, okay, like
right.
So I bought a board, and like we go there and have a blast, and so.
Well, hey, if Mike Tyson at 58 could come back and box for one event in Dallas.
Yeah.
And if Lindsey Vonn can come out of retirement at age 40 and perform on the ski teams again.
Yeah.
Who's to say Tony Hawk can't skateboard until he's 70?
Right.
And hopefully nail tricks and not like, tear ACLs. And
Yeah, I mean, you be careful and whatever. And I think it's good for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
you hear a lot of these stories, Jay, of some skiers and snowboarders, they go until they're like 95 years old.
Wow.
I think that's pretty impressive, man.
That is really impressive.
There was a gentleman, I think, that still skied. I read an article on this a couple years ago. He passed away 6 months before his 100th birthday.
Wow.
And up until like age 99 out in Utah, I think he still skied almost 100 days a year.
That's cool.
That is impressive, man. That's really impressive.
And I mean, you see a lot more musicians that just keep doing it until...
Well, B.B. King, you mentioned him. He went till he was 89. He was 250 shows a year still.
That's
up until the day he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson.
Yeah. God, he's what, 91, 92?
Yeah.
I think.
So Bob Ware.
Yep. Les Paul went until he was 93.
Yeah.
Phil Lesh of the Dead just passed away at 84. I mean, he had a fairly good run going. He had a liver transplant like 25, 30 years ago and was doing well health-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Rolling Stones, mid-'80s, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards. Keith Richards is going to be 200.
Yeah, dude. What's his story? Because it's not like he took it easy on himself either.
And I think he's for the most part taking it easy on himself now.
Yeah, you
but
think?
For like the first 50, 60 years, definitely
He shouldn't be alive. Like he's one of those, like, what are you
again?
doing?
Modern medicine, blood transfusions.
I don't know.
Hey, once again, everybody, we're hanging out on episode 39 with local artist from Arlington, VT area, Jay Simon. Any big shows on the horizon for you, man?
I wish I had more coming up, but I definitely am playing at the New American Grill next month. And of course, I don't have the date on, but December I'll be at the New American Grill. I'll be at Union South in Bennington.
Yeah, great spot
for
down
my
there.
first time coming up. I believe it's the 7th. It's the first Saturday.
Have you seen that stage, by the way, in that room?
Or have
you just seen my pictures online of?
Well, I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, it looks like
great
inviting.
Room. Yeah,
you like it? Yeah. So I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, it's got a sun statue, like just a sun ray picture pointing like on the backdrop. Yeah, it's a very inviting room.
It's a good vibe in there.
Oh yeah, it is.
And then I'm doing the Angry Egg 2, which is the breakfast place in Bennington, which I've really
I've heard of that place.
I've been enjoying that gig. You know, the whole coffee house gigs. Like I liked it. What I can do. Like works in a coffee house scene, and it works at Blackliner or New American Grill or whatever. So it's kind of cool. But I like the coffee. I like the quieter, like intimate gigs. And I think New American Grill has the best of both worlds because it's an intimate room where you can really connect with the people that are in there, but it's still a bigger room and like it's allowed. It allows a good amount of people to be in there.
You've got a choice of 3 different environments, like you say in there, because you've got on the one hand you've got the bar with our good friend Jack Barabal. Bro, do you even know? Bro,
Jack.
Dude, Jack. We love Jack, with the sunglasses. He told me one time when he moved up to Vermont, he didn't own a single pair of pants, and I believe him. It's just shorts. But you've got that vibe in there with Goose, Grateful Dead, Fish, always on TV.
Goose.
With the
Let's talk about Goose.
Yeah, I love Goose. Yeah. And then you've got your regular standard dining room with different layers
with
and everything.
with really good food.
Oh
too.
yeah,
and like not we're talking about food. Like you can get a burger in there, but you can also get like really higher end cuisine almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You get like a typical like salmon dish with like white rice and veggies.
Yeah.
Or I go all carbs burrito, man. I love a chicken burrito. Yeah. No, I tell people all the time. That place has been around almost 20 years. When you discover it for the first time, you're hooked. The New American Grill, you're completely hooked.
It's developed though too, right?
Oh yeah, it has. Yeah.
And so I like the moves that stage has gone like, I'll try it here. Like every time I go there, I'm like, you guys move the stage.
It's in the permanent spot now where people can see you from all the areas.
You're
great. Yeah.
more not just playing to their music room as you're playing and that where that stage is at now. You're playing to the whole house. And so you have people that like finish their dinner and they're like, oh, what's going on in here? And I always love kids, man.
Oh yeah.
It's
inviting.
Whenever I play, and I was talking to my friend was there at a show, and I'm like, the kids are like, I connect with the most, I feel like, at the shows. And he's like, really? And man, like a minute later, this kid walks in and they're dancing, and like, I love that connection.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that in and of a sense is such a critical part of what musicians do, especially on all tiers, corporate or localized here in Vermont, is when they see you're smiling and having a good time, especially the kids, venues pick up on that easily. Servers pick up on that. Owners, bartenders pick up on that. When the entertainer is having a good time and they're engaging with the crowd, and not every night's the same, I get it, but they pick up on that. And that's why one of the reasons, I've mentioned this a bunch of times on the episodes, but one of the reasons I called this podcast The Tasty Twist is because we're all in this together. Musicians are working together in the restaurant industry with servers, bartenders, and owners.
That's true. Yeah.
We're all in a level of customer service and entertaining other human beings on their vacation or just their night off from work, their 2 nights off from work.
Right.
So it's a big team collaborative effort, like what we do.
Yeah. That's interesting to point out.
Yeah.
You know?
And tasty and twist are both kind of musician references of like, oh, that was a tasty lick that you did right there. Or wow, this song has a cool twist to it. Or this food recipe, this spice has a different like tasty twist to it. So that's why I called it The Tasty Twist. So
that's awesome.
And it's been an honor having you here for episode number 39. Thank you for the interest.
I really appreciate being here, and this is just a really cool thing you're doing.
Thank you.
For the scene and to help develop what is already an amazing music scene that we're able to be a part of.
Well, and we're very lucky here to have an amazing television station in Okemo Valley TV with a cool room like this.
This is
to be able to have the platform. I mean, I credit these guys for giving me the motivation and the advice to get this rolling, and it's been a big success so far, I would say, like in 4 months in. And speaking of success / advice, so owner operator again of a business, Green Mountain Power Sports, right? That's still correct.
That's the eBay business.
That's the eBay business, right? And you have another one, right?
Simon Repair Care.
Simon Repair Care, yeah.
Painting, remodeling.
Awesome, yeah. So, owner of multiple businesses and father of 5. Do you have any specific advice, motivational advice you'd like to give to anybody that's listening to this podcast?
So, know what you want to do. Whether and that's and that goes along with work. It also goes along with know what you love and know what you want to do, and then just focus on that and go after that and have a balance in life. You know what I mean? For me, family is really important. We love worshiping God and that's part of our life. And I think that having a balance to your life is important. But as far as being successful with work or anything, it takes work, and it takes, first of all, knowing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then once you know that, and then just waking up and doing that every day.
How much do you credit also to with success, powering through the tough times like failure? I mean, you're going to fail in life. I mean, everyone's going to fail and go through bad times, bad decisions, whatever, whether it's like work or personal life. How much do you credit just powering through the failures and the bad times to still get to that level of success and whatever that might be? How much do you credit that?
I think that's really important, and I think life isn't going to be perfect, and to get that out of your head. And a lot of times in social media, people are like, my life isn't like this, so it's not. Yeah. Life isn't like it is on social media every day. Yeah. And so we have to going through the hard times makes you a better person. And being a musician can really be disheartening sometimes, you know what I mean? And for me, I still try to remind myself that, because you think like, well, I should be doing more, or I should be doing better, or whatever, but don't focus on that. Focus on what you're doing and what is cool about what you're doing and what you love about what you're doing, and use the hard times in life as an influence, and also to make you stronger.
Know what you're confident at, like you said, know what you want to do. And also a level of consistency each day goes a long way, whether it's writing a little bit here and there, or going to the gym at your own pace every single day or every couple of days, whatever groove that you're in and you stay consistent at, it could also go a long way as well too.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and last but not least, any special shout out to anybody in particular on this episode you want to give out to?
Oh man, I want to shout out to everybody.
Yeah.
I just everybody, man. It's cool to be part of this scene, and I want everybody just keep doing what you're doing, keep making your art. You know, we talked about Joel Jordan, John Pennington, Max.
Keep supporting each other.
Jack, Patrick Sargent, man, if you go on and on.
Absolutely, yeah. Zach Yakitis, Ali Jim Yeager, everybody that's out there in their career. Yeah, just
keep doing what you're doing and keep making good art and being part of this big scene,
and have fun doing it at the end of the day.
That's the big part.
Did you have fun today?
I had a blast, dude.
Yeah, man.
I want to come back. He said he's doing more. I want to come back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, winter's here. I've got the mountain job and gigs, but I'm definitely preparing already mentally a season 2 of this, definitely. Cool. And it's going to have repeat guests. It's going to probably have a whole lot of new guests. That'll definitely be most likely spring and beyond, but who knows? Tomorrow's a new day. Maybe December I'll have some. I have no idea. We shall see. But all I know is that this has been a fun episode, number 39, with Jay Simon from Arlington, Vermont. Once again, you can find him on Bandcamp. He's got a bunch of different singles out there. He's also got a bunch of different album and releases. Again, check him out, The New American Grill. And you can find him also on Facebook. He's got a personal page and a business page for music also as well, too. Jay, thank you for your time today, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
No problem. Absolutely. Yeah. Once again, everybody, this is another episode of The Tasty Twist. Find all released episodes on okimovalley.tv or my website, sammybmusic.com. For this episode, I'm Sammy Blanchette. God bless, peace and love. Have a great day, everybody. Peace. Don't you worry now, my darling. Woo! Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of The Tasty Twist with Sammy B. You can watch all the episodes of this podcast on Okemo Valley TV's YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. You can visit their website, okimovalley.tv, consider downloading their mobile app, or watch them on live television via VTEL, channel 166 and 167, Comcast 1076 and 1086. Are you interested in supporting a local media station? Please consider becoming a member today. Visit okimovalley.tv for more information.